Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
All right, let's switch gears and topics here, and let's go to the Middle East. We're going to be joined, first of all, by Annie Cyrus. She has a broadcast with us each and every day at 3 p.m. Central, 4 Eastern, born and raised in Iran. Then we'll be joined by Hedia, as well as by Shahram Hadian, and our reporter on the ground in Israel. As rockets are going into Israel, a lot of them being caught by the Iron Dome, thankfully. But the word is that Iran may be falling. Joining me now is Annie Cyrus. Annie, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
My pleasure, Brennan. Thank you for having me.
What is the latest on the fall of Iran? Are we watching leaders flee? What about the reports that some of the IRGC family members are getting on private planes, maybe headed to Russia? What reports can you confirm today?
So as early as 6 a.m. Tehran time, Saturday, which is confusing, but it would be about 10:30 p.m. last night here time, people of Iran started posting videos on social media of private planes taking off from Khomeini Airport, which supposedly was shut down and all planes were grounded. Videos started coming out with question of, if there are no flights going out, what are these planes for? As of right now, confirmed separated flights are up to 5 flights took off from about 6 a.m. Tehran time until about 10 a.m. Tehran time. So the question started there. But then later on, which for the record, I am working on it actively as I'm on with you to translate the video from Netanyahu, because it's in Hebrew, that translated to Farsi. Netanyahu came out and released a video saying we actually have evidence that the top leaders and commanders of not just IRGC, but all commands, Quds Forces, IRGC, Air Force, all of them are fleeing. Well, his exact term was they're packing up. Put that together with the flights in the morning, I think it is very safe to say at least some of them are fleeing the country. And then the regime itself on their news channel reported that they said missing in action, that 2 commanders, a general and a commander are missing right now. So I would say it is safe to say, can I confirm 100% no, but it is very safe to say that some of them are definitely fleeing the country. Now, to top that, on the list of things that I sent you before we go on air, there's a video that came out. There are many videos, but this one is the best clear one that I translated. And basically, it's a driver, an average citizen in Tehran driving. He films the streets, and on the video, he says, you can see on the video that the regime has already deployed their pretty much morality police on a standby, getting ready for uprising, so that they know people are coming out.
They do. All right, let me go through these videos. I don't know what order they're coming in from, but let me go with the first one you sent me here. This is the first one from Annie Cyrus. Here we go.
Oh, we don't actually need the audio for this.
No audio? Okay, that's fine.
No. But here's the thing. This is where Israel is taking this serious. We're not seeing much of it on our media, but what you're looking at, Brannon, is an oil depot in West Tehran. They hit it, and by now it has burned into ashes. Nothing of it left. And you don't hear it anywhere because apparently we want to downplay the damages Israel is doing to Iran. But that is the west side of Tehran oil depot. And then right after that, actually, they went ahead and hit the oil refinery of Tehran as well.
All right.
So as of right now, I guess that would be a good reason for IRGC members to flee, right?
Yep.
But there should be one more video. You'll see it. It's a drive-by. In that one, you see the the morality police forces standing by. And the driver actually says something very interesting. He says, I want to say, Mr. Netanyahu, thank you please end this 46 years of chokehold and end it. We are with you. I promise you, we are behind you.
Wow. I don't know what this one is. I'm just giving them.
That one is the other angle of the oil depot.
Okay, you see it
burning.
in the far background. Okay, I'll go
Yes.
right away to the next one then, for the sake of time. Bring on
The
other
reason I
panels.
sent you so many is people, your audience can see these are sent by Iranian citizens. This isn't some propaganda made together by IDF. No, these are actual people in their apartment buildings behind windows filming and posting them. By the way, I should add that there's a full blackout, internet blackout on Iran, but people are using VPN to still put posts out because they know how propaganda machine works. But yeah, most of them are sent by just average citizens in their homes, witnessing, filming, or some are just taking pictures if their VPN isn't strong enough to load up full videos. But there's a lot. Like, Israel is way ahead of this war. But again, for whatever reason, it's ordered to be shown as, Israel is under heavy attack from Iran. I know they are, but I'm not downplaying that part. I'm just saying that they are. This is the oil refinery. You can see how huge it is.
Yeah, it is big.
One hit, and that's it. They got I think it's called Shahreh, the area. That's the oil refinery that they took out. I mean, I know a lot of people underestimated Netanyahu since Thursday, but he's definitely showing that he means business this time. And he's ignoring all the calls from Erdogan and Putin and Macron. But apparently Trump has time to answer everybody today. But Netanyahu has been ignoring their calls.
He's been ignoring their calls.
I don't know if he is. I know they're calling Trump. Why? I have no idea.
Wow.
But
Here's
I know
the next
Trump.
one. Now, this may be, is this the one you're referring to? We need audio for this one?
Yes. If you want to.
4 خرداد 1404 جمهوری اسلامی نیروهای سرکوبش رو
Watch as you see the forces coming up. There you go.
همینطور که مشاهده
Right there.
می‌کنید جمهوری اسلامی
him?
نیروهای
Yep.
سرکوبش رو ریخته تو فلک دوم تهران پارس همینطور که مشاهده
They're the forces.
there.
Yep.
You've seen them during Massa Amini uprising. These were the one killing people in the streets. They're gearing up.
They're gearing up.
و
They're gearing up for the protesters who are about to spill the streets wanting freedom.
Exactly.
Wow.
So with that, everything we just covered, there's a very good chance. Now, I'm not going to go as far as saying the Islamic Republic is going to collapse overnight, but the cracks are spreading pretty fast. There will definitely be a fallout internally, and I have a feeling the first backlash is going to be towards the supreme leader. A lot of his loyalists are going to turn their back on him. They're going to point finger at him. They're going to blame him, and they might even try to take over themselves, like IRGC commanders. They might try to take over.
Let's
So
bring
that
in.
might be the next phase.
Let's bring in the rest of the panel. That's Annie Cyrus with liveuptofreedom.com and her website, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Shahram Hadian joins us. He's with TIL Ministry, TILministry.com. And Hedia joins us. Hedia, help me. I haven't known your website as long as I have everybody else's, but I'll get it memorized. It's Resurrect, I think, something, right?
ResurrectMinistry.com.
ResurrectMinistry.com, ResurrectMinistry.com. All three of these are Iranians. I mean, Hadian was born there. Annie was born there. You were born in the United States of America, but your parents were Iranian. And and then Aaron, of course, is our Hebrew, and I'm the Gentile. So
Before going on air, the three of us decided that we will give an honorary Persian card to Aaron. He's also Persian.
there you go. Before we go to the rest of you about what's
And
happening.
Brandon, we'll get you one too as soon as you call us Iranians and not Iranians.
There you go.
Thank you.
Iranians is at Iranians. All right, there you go. Let's go first to you, Aaron. Aaron, my alert app was going off for about an hour ago, just non-stop. An hour and 20 minutes ago, it was just going off non-stop. I look online, and you had a lot of rockets coming in your direction. Tell me the latest. All right. Did you mute yourself, Aaron?
Yeah, apologies.
That's right.
Great to be with you, Brennan, and to be with everyone else, my Iranian brothers and sisters. So, our home front command sent every citizen in Israel an extreme alert, telling basically millions to get to their bomb shelters. There've been a barrage coming from the Houthis in the south, and of course the Iranians. Most of the missiles have been intercepted. However, a decent barrage hit the northern city of Haifa. And I'm just getting updates that there are a number of wounded, and 3 now, I believe, have been killed. Tragic results. Now, because these attacks are on civilian cities, whereas the Israelis have been firing upon military installations and nuclear installations and oil fuel depots, but because the Iranians are firing on civilian cities, our Prime Minister and Defense Minister said that's crossing every red line, and we will not accept that at all. And so we have really upped the ante, and we are pounding Tehran, the capital of Iran. There is a total power outage in Tehran. There is also, and by the way, in Tehran, the area that we have been mainly attacking has been an area where a lot of Revolutionary Guards are living. Brandon, this is the reason why our attacks are so precise is because of the years and years of military intelligence that we've been able to gather. And I'm sure the Americans have helped us with that. But we are, precision striking. However, we are still on red alert here in Israel. We are expecting another major drone attack to hit us. Apparently, it's even on the way. But this is part of our strategy. It's attack and defense. Both at the same time, we're focusing on our attack and defense. And Bibi Netanyahu, this is his moment. And like you said, and like Ani have said, this could be the beginning of the end of the regime and the liberation of the Iranian people and the liberation of Israel, because we've been under tyranny and under these threats for so long. The book of Daniel talks about the prince of the Persia, the prince of the Persia how does that verse go about the prince of Persia? Yes, the prince of Persia. I'm sorry, I'm just so overtired here. And it seems that there is that same spiritual force that was around in Daniel's day. It's emanating also from Persia. This was the same spirit that operated through Haman. Haman, who wanted to murder every single Jew, and he was very close to doing it. When the edict in the book of Esther, when the lot was spun, and on the 25th of Elul, the day that every Jew would die, the Almighty God made a massive turnaround through Esther, through Mordecai. And so we're believing, and we're really praying. Lots of people are praying. I had our Prayer for Israel meeting last night. Today at my Bible study that I led, we were all praying for America, praying for Israel. And we know that there are literally millions and millions of people around the world, especially in America, who are praying for Israel, praying for our peace, and praying that the Almighty, Kuma Adonai, arise, O Lord, and let your enemies be scattered.
Amen to that. We are getting reports from a few trusted sites online. I don't know if most of you know who Dr. Eli David is. He has a pretty big presence online. His reports always, from what I've seen, tend to be worthy of reporting. I don't know if you can confirm, any of you, but he is saying that a Boeing 747 just departed Tehran about an hour ago. Imagine how many regime officials and their families are fleeing that they need a 747. Remaining regime officials are either Israeli spies or idiots. Let's go to that, Hedia. It looks as though Israel flipped some of these guys. In fact, I think Annie even had one of these generals that seems that we thought was dead was actually alive, and he was flipped by Israel. What do you make of Dr. David Eli saying a lot of these regime officials are either spies, or they're fleeing, or they're staying, and they're idiots? How many do you think had flipped and were working with Israel?
Well, if you think about their multi-pronged attack of the military, being able to set up the drones in pieces over a period of a year and a half, and also the trucks that were set up. So this has been an operation a long time in the making. And so they had to have allies on the ground. The Israelis could not have done that without Persian support. And I think the Iranian people are quite clever. They have been for centuries. And so they probably saw the writing on the wall, and many of them wanted a way out. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was quite a few of them that helped Israel to carry off these attacks.
Now, I don't want you to be humble here about your background. I want you to tell our audience, for those who don't know, you worked in intelligence arena, the State Department. You've been in the room with Barack Hussein Obama as president, and others along the way, correct? Give our audience your bio.
Okay, sure. So, interestingly, in the Iranian situation, I grew up in Beverly Hills, California, the largest expat community of Iranians in the world. My father was part of an effort to actually get Reza Pahlavi back into Iran in the early 90s, maybe it was about 89. And I think you have some pictures of that event that we hosted at our house. Yeah, that's me, that young teenager in the corner.
The far right there, that's you?
Yes, that's me. That's my father, and that's Reza Pahlavi.
So your father's one with the glasses?
Yes.
And that would be the prince who's got his hand up right there in the blue suit. Who is living in D.C. now, I think, most of the time.
Yes. And so there's been efforts over the decades to try to get him to go back. And then people just kind of gave up. And when I went to go work in D.C., I was an appointee under President Bush. I met with the neoconservatives. I was part of that movement for a very long time, the lead up to the Iraq War. And then Defense Secretary Wolfowitz said, I'm not sending an Iranian to Iraq. You have to send her to Afghanistan. So that's how I ended up in Afghanistan. But for many, many years, there's been thoughts that we would try to bring the Pahlavi, to bring Reza back, maybe to help support a constitutional republic, maybe in a ceremonial position as a monarch, but it never gained traction. I have to tell you, honestly, there's this hostility in the U.S. State Department against the Pahlavis. So I'm worried that this talk about regime change, who would actually be the leader, because I don't believe we would instigate a regime change without support from somebody inside, somebody that was going to take the place of the mullahs. So I'll be interested to see how that develops. I don't know if the Trump administration is more amenable to using Reza Pahlavi and his allies, but it'll be interesting to see if there's really a move in that direction.
Here's the more pictures you sent here. There's the prince. You're one of them in here. Yeah, you're right over his
Yes.
right shoulder. Is your mom in this picture?
My mom is not, but my former sister-in-law and that family that's pictured is actually the Sarbaz family. And so they were very, very wealthy family in Iran that were also, so a lot of the families that ended up back in Beverly Hills and Los Angeles were those that had to leave during the time of the Shah. So it was the Nazarians, it was the Sarbaz family, it was the Muradi family. These are all just very wealthy business owners and manufacturers that had to leave when the mullahs took over.
Were most of them able to get their assets out of Iran?
No, well, a lot of them did not. They were able to get some and enough to rebuild, and they heavily invested in real estate in Los Angeles, which basically just quadrupled their wealth, because that real estate, of course, went up tremendously in value.
That's quite a story of survival, of perseverance. Yes. They leave it all behind. They get a little out. They come to America, and they say, well, we're capitalists. Let's buy land. It triples, and they get back probably as much or more than they left behind. You know, some people just don't give up, do they? They just don't give up.
No, and it's really interesting because the Iranian people, when I first came to faith in Christ, the Lord really constantly put on my heart that I needed to, one, repent of this kind of generational curse that exists over the Persian people, the debauchery, the idolatry, the fights with God and God's people, and also to understand that it also has a unique history. Oh, that picture is of my mother. Notice the clothing, pre-Islamic Empire, and my father, and that is Farah Pahlavi, Reza's mother. And
the queen would be the one wearing the hat, the queen right there?
Yes, the queen is the one wearing the hat. And they were actually, my father had finished his residency here at Northwestern in Chicago, and they had asked him to come back and serve in the royal family medical team, and he refused. He was a great patriot. He loved being an American, and there was nothing that would take him back to Iran.
They wanted him to go back while the Shah was still on the throne.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Annie, you want to comment on this? Because this is right up your alley. I know you're a big admirer of the Queen and the Prince.
I love our queen. And I really hope this happens while she's still alive, because I think as much as Crown Prince Pahlavi is very wise and very aware, but I don't think he can do this without our queen. We need her wisdom, and we need her strength, and we need her intelligence. For anybody who doesn't know, she is very well educated. She speaks fluently 8 different languages. When she does any interviews in French, she's speaking French on her own, and Arabic and Farsi and English, and I believe she also speaks Hebrew. Anyhow, we need her, and I love her. And I would say, Hediye John, on what you mentioned, I do remember, well, I should say I do remember, but I do later on remember seeing the footages. They managed to get his brother, Shah's oldest son, in the country. And unfortunately, one of the courts around got too excited and released footages, pictures of his presence in Kurdistan. And that shortly after that, he was suicided in Paris, unfortunately. So the plan somewhat worked, but unfortunately it didn't by one man's mistake. But I do believe strongly that if you would put a vote in place right now, this very moment, Iranians outside of Iran, Iranians inside of Iran, Prince Pahlavi would win the election in a monarchy or republic format, whatever format. Probably 75% of votes would go to him.
Wow.
I strongly believe he does have the support of people, the generation that counts. I should be more specific. Like all those who are still wearing their hijab and, hold it with the corner of their teeth in Iran, who cares? They don't even get to vote. They can stay refuge in Iran. But the younger generation of, Shahram, yourself, myself, the next generation, he's got a good 70-75% of votes to at least place a stabilized temporary government until situation is sorted.
I think we have a video. We'll have Hediye respond, but I think we have a video. I don't know if this is going to be in English or not, because I'm seeing it for the first time, but take a look at this, folks.
همیهنانم جمهوری اسلامی و رهبران نالایق و جنایتکارش ایران ما را به جنگ کشاندند و مسئول و مقصر اصلی وضعیت کنونی هستند. این رژیم پس از دهه‌ها فساد و بیکفایتی و زورگویی در شکننده ترین و ضعیفترین وضعیت خود قرار گرفته است. اما شکستن نهایی آن تنها به دست پرقدرت ملت بزرگ ایران ممکن است. ایران متعلق به شماست و بازپسگیریش نیز در دستان شماست. هر نافرمانی شما، از جمله نرفتن به محل کار، کمکاری یا دیرکاری، میتواند ضربه مؤثر بر پیکر فرسوده این رژیم باشد. ما با هم و در کنار هم پیروز خواهیم شد. به نیروهای نظامی، انتظامی و امنیتی میگویم از این رژیم جدا شوید و به مردم بپیوندید. از جانب شما مردم به جامعه جهانی میگویم به جای مماشات با رژیم اسلامی از مردم ایران حمایت کنید. پاینده ایران، زنده باد ملت ایران.
Wow. Did you ever think you would see this day, Shahram? I mean, this is pretty fascinating.
Well, I think that we've been praying for this day, Brandon. It's a bit of a bittersweet time for me because I see a little different perspective here, first of all, from the reports of the officials from the current regime fleeing Iran. And I agree with you. I've been actually tracking Dr. David Eli's site for the last couple of days, and he's got some pretty specific, I think, validated information that indeed there is an exodus happening by these top officials. I think that they're seeing that the Israeli government can hit any of them at any point inside the country or in anywhere else other than maybe in Russia. But it's bittersweet in one sense because in 1978, we had to flee. My dad, being that he was a top military official under the Shah, got us out. We left. We were one of those people that Hedy is describing. We left everything behind. My dad was fairly wealthy when he had taken early retirement from the military, knowing that things were shifting because of the betrayer in Jimmy Carter, who betrayed the Iranian people. We were one of those people that left with, very little of the wealth that he had amassed in Iran. We were fairly well off there. And he came here and opened a restaurant and was cleaning bathrooms and whatever he had to do to take care of our family. And that always stayed with me as far as kind of a work ethic. But we, at that time, many of the officials under the Shah, those who, like my dad, knew we were forced to flee, get out. We were on one of the last commercial flights that left Iran in December of 1978. Many people who stayed, who were some higher ranking than him, they were then subsequently executed between February and the summer of 1979 in secret trials, including the prime minister at that time. So now to watch it the other way around, it's bittersweet. Like I'm rejoicing in one sense, but I'm still very concerned. And I just want to quickly say, I don't want to take too much time here, but I want to quickly say, I agree with the concern that Hedy is bringing up. Let's not forget, because I've had this question for many years. Once this regime, and I believe it's a once, not if, I think once this regime falls, the question is, what will Iran become? The reason Iran is the fastest growing church in the world, numerically speaking, is because, listen, before the revolution, before the coup of 1979, there was estimated less than maybe 2,000 born-again Christians in Iran. For perspective, today that number is, some say 2 million, 5 million, 3 million. We don't know exactly what the number is in the underground churches. But it has come because of persecution, because of the hardship. So the danger in this time frame is when you bring all of a sudden freedom, and I'm not saying in any way I don't want it. I want the people of Iran to be free. Because, and as Aaron said earlier, it's better for Israel, it's better for the world, it's better for America. But who is going to take over? Reza Pahlavi claims to be a Muslim. So what would be the government that Iran would be under? Now, to Annie's point, if it was temporary, if they put a transitional government in, then the question would be, what would be that republic? I think it has to be some sort of a constitutional republic. But of course, the question would be, what would be the constitution of it? But I think that this is the closest moment we have had in 46 years. And it has been brewing, and there have already been many defectors going back to, I said the other night on your program, since September of 2023, when Mahsa Amini was killed. There were defectors then from the military, from the police, from different branches of the armed forces. Now, if the top level has been taken out, Brandon, this is going to, with the words of Reza Pahlavi, calling upon the people in the military to defect and support the people. With the words of Benjamin Netanyahu, that's what needs to be said. Of course, now I am waiting for the president. And I think I would love to know, for Hedy to maybe go deeper into why has there been such a level of resistance in the State Department to actually allow the overthrow of this regime? Why has our government, even under Trump, continued to support this Islamic regime and not do what Israel did, which is to say we are with the people and we want this regime to be done with?
Hedy?
Actually, it's really interesting because and this is what worries me about regime change. So I told you I was in the room when we were talking about regime change for Iraq, and it was Ahmed Chalabi. The conservatives were putting forward Ahmed to rule, and he never won. And so instead, now we have a proxy for Iran. And those of us that were Islamic terror experts kept telling them, don't flip it from Sunni to Shia. You're going to get them allied to Iran. And they said, oh, no, that's ridiculous. Iran and the Iraqis and the Iranians hate each other. We're like, you don't understand. The theology is deeper than the ethnicity. but no one listened, and that ended up a disaster. So juxtapose that also to Gaddafi. I was also part of a number of efforts. I went to go visit Gaddafi in his tent out in Libya, and he was trying to like make over his image and say, I have nothing to do with the jihadis. I don't want anything to do with terrorism. Why is the West against me? And then you turn around and you see Obama made sure that he was one of the regimes that are toppled. So the jihadi, Saudi, Qatari dictators we keep in place. And now we have Ahmed Ashara in Syria, who is the funniest character of all. I mean, the guy is a actual terrorists that have killed dozens, if not hundreds of Americans, soldiers, citizens, you name it. And now he's dressed up in a suit, walking down red carpet, shaking the hand of the president and what have you, just like enjoying this wonderful VIP treatment. And then people like Pahlavi or others that are secularists, the US State Department historically does not support. And I can't even tell you how many decades of work people like me have done trying to get an understanding of why this policy happens this way without any clear answers.
Well, and Brandon, can I ask this question?
Yep. I'm gonna show some pictures of her as I can as we I don't know why those aren't lining up, but we'll show some pictures of her work. It's quite impressive. Did I hear you just say though you went and met with Gaddafi? Is that what I just heard you say?
Yes, I was flown out. I was part of the Monitor group that was taking a whole slew of us, Richard Pearl and me and some other people had gone down there to kind of refurbish his image as somebody that isn't hostile to the West. And I sat in a tent with his camels, burping out in the air in the desert. And we flew in this private plane. It was very rickety. I was fearing for my life. And to the secret location, I couldn't tell you. If he took me out there and buried me in the desert, nobody would find me. That's how remote this place was. And yes, but yet the Obama administration wanted him dead. Hillary wanted him dead.
Isn't that something? Is that because he was going to go encouraging those nations around him to go to gold, get rid of the dollar?
I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea why.
But she really laughed and cackled about that, right? When they killed him.
Yes.
And then the video of him being killed is quite graphic. I mean, they sodomized him and with, I don't know, poles or tubes or whatever they did. But I mean, it was very, very graphic. I don't know what just happened with our
Aaron's we lost Aaron.
We lost Aaron,
the system
and so
is adjusting
all right,
the scenes.
Logan will get that fixed. But yeah, it was quite a graphic murder of Gaddafi, was it not, Hedia?
Yes, it was a very graphic murder, and a lot of us that had tried to help with this reconstitution of his image were very disappointed because he was quite sincere in not wanting to get lumped with the jihadis, and we know that Libya was quite stable. It didn't have a jihadi threat as long as he was in charge. And now look at it. It's a disaster. Between Libya and Yemen, they're disasters.
By the way, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Israel officials say they are now targeting the Iran Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei, that they're targeting him.
Yeah.
Could I, just to address something, Sharamjan, you said, and if Hedia doesn't mind, I want to also address the question you asked. I agree that Reza Pahlavi identifies as a Muslim, but I also know that his father, his grandfather, and himself in his different speeches has never mixed it into their governing or their constitution or their law and order. So coming from me, I'm not worried about him trying to turn the country into another Islamic Republic. I highly doubt Reza Pahlavi would do that. But I want to say the reason I'm very extremely supportive, let's put him in a temporary government, is, remember, as Hedia just said, right now, unfortunately, Republicans, for whatever reason, have bought into Mujahideen Khalq movement. MEK has so many Republican supporters and donors that it's almost terrifying. So the thought of giving American government a split second to make a decision on the temporary government is why I keep saying, let's just place Reza Pahlavi in as government, as temporary transitional government. Because can you imagine all of this, getting rid of the mullahs, and then for a split second giving the throne to MEK through Republicans in America?
That's what I'm worried about. We are not good at regime change. And anytime regime change, there's trouble. So
Lydia,
really,
can I disagree with that? I don't think United States of America is not good at changing regime. I think they do this on purpose. Remember, if Iran goes back to, I actually said that earlier today, if Iran would go back to its glorious days, between Iran and Israel, Middle East would have no conflict. It would have no jihadists. And then U.S. wouldn't really make as much money as it does. You know, we need.
Let me rephrase. They're not good at picking good horses, or it depends on your perspective.
That's what. Well, and just to clarify too, with Annie, I'm not saying that I think Reza Pahlavi is going to set up another Islamic republic. I'm just saying that he's come out and is doing what most Iranians think is that there's some peaceful version of Islam that exists that we know doesn't exist. And so even if Iran was stable as a Shia power, you have let's not forget that 85% of the Islamic world is Sunni. So, you still have the beast that's there, which is the Sunni Islamic world. We said the other night, Turkey is a powerhouse that is being ignored. The Saudis, one of the reports that I just read was that Mohammed bin Salman is telling Pezeshkian, the president of Iran, listen, it seems like they're playing both sides of the fence here a little bit, because he's telling them, well, Israel's trying to goad America into this, and don't worry. And so this is, again, why I'm so uncomfortable, and I think we'd all agree, I've been so uncomfortable with the wooing of the Qataris and the Saudis and all this money. But the question I had for Hediye was this. Here's why I'm asking that question. Because we know that at some point, whether it was pre-Carter or during Carter, that the CIA flipped. The Shah of Iran would have never been able to stay in power under the White Revolution back in 1960 had it not been for the support of the U.S. government and the intelligence community and the deep state. When I say deep state, I mean, we call it, what do we call it? The white hats versus the black hats. So, right. Is it possible that we still have that same apparatus of the CIA and the deep state that helped to overthrow the Shah and back Khomeini? Is that still in power, Hediye? Is that still 46 years later what is ruling the deep state? And that's why they're so opposed to Reza Pahlavi coming back in and reclaiming the crown. We said this, remember, Annie, we said this a few years ago. Just simply declare that as the United States, that we do not recognize the Islamic Republic as a sovereign country because you committed a coup 46 years ago. You stole the throne, but that's, Hediye would know better. That's not going to happen, given, like you said, the State Department. But that's just my curiosity is that the overthrow of the Shah would have never happened had it not been for the deep state of the United States getting rid of him. So there you go. There is the example of what you just said. We suck at who we back in regime change in America, because you get rid of Gaddafi, you get rid of Mubarak, you get rid of Saddam, you get rid of now the Shah of Iran. I mean, we are batting 0 for what?
Yes.
So let the Iranian people do this. Get out of the way. I'm sick and tired of America being the kingmakers.
Well, let me come in there. Agree. And so let me come in there for that one. Again, I want to wish President Trump a happy birthday. I appreciate all the great things he's done that we appreciate and agree with. No man is perfect, okay? He's got a very tough job. So with all that nice stuff and disclaimer, let me now ask the three of you. We'll start with you, Hediye. Do you think that it is appropriate at this time for the president to be on the phone with Putin trying to get the Iranians back to the table when the regime is falling? Why would we even be trying to get the leaders of this dictatorship, this Islamic regime, back to the table? Why would we be trying to throw them under the table, be done with them, and set up a new free Iran and go forward? Doesn't the fact that he's trying to get Putin, or did get Putin, I guess, on the phone to talk about that, show you that you're on the wrong game? That game is past. That's not what we're playing here anymore.
Well, I don't know. Is it not what we're playing for? I mean, Shahram laid out very well that we suck at changing governments and we always bet on the wrong guy, possibly intentionally, because we seem to always back the jihadists. Bin Laden was our guy. The Charlie Wilson's war, all the support we did to the Afghanistan jihadis. I know they were recruiting jihadis in America in the mosques in Northern California back in the mid-90s. So we have been supporting the jihadists against what we call, it's against the red threat, against the communists for decades. So maybe that is very much intentional. So I think that may also play into why they're not willing to give up on the mullahs right now. And I think maybe from Trump's perspective, he's like, oh, my whole cabinet is divided over this issue. All my advisors are divided over this issue. I don't want to be in the middle of that. He wants a legacy of peace. He wants to win the Nobel Peace Prize. I don't think he wants to be the one responsible for changing governments in Iran. And I think that they don't really have a candidate that they're willing to back. And I think Shahram is right. They never wanted to back the Pahlavi family. They did, they worked against them in the revolution and they will continue to work against them. So unless some white knight comes out, I don't think this administration is going to push for a regime change unless that there's a massive groundswell that happens. And I worry about that too, because remember the women life freedom movement that a lot of us were writing about and talking about, begging the United States and Western countries to get involved, they were crushed, and they were crushed brutally. So I really worry about the Iranian people coming out and fighting for regime change with no Western support.
And of course, aren't all those people, Hediya, they've done this on video, and then if the regime gets its footing back again, every one of those people are going to be tracked down and murdered and imprisoned, right?
Exactly. And so I don't want them risking their lives if they don't have some external support. They need some powerful external support. Personal opinion, just watching this for decades in various countries, it's usually some Western government, and oftentimes ours. If you remember all the stuff that Musk uncovered with Doge through the USAID, and there was some great reporting by Mike Bentz that he did directly and that he did through Tucker about all of the times that USAID and the State Department were used for regime change in various countries. For whatever reason, we just chose a different ally. We wanted a different person in power, whether it was based on economics or military or just wanting a different player in the field, that I just can't imagine that they would be able to pull it off without our support. And so it's not clear to me what direction that support will go.
What do you make of what's being said here, Annie?
I agree with everything, every concern, every fact, and every logic. But then at the same time, I say, starting Thursday night, Bibi Netanyahu, who I want to be very clear, I disagree with him on 95% of the things he does and says. However, when credit is due, one shall be given. Thursday night until today, Netanyahu just proved that we aren't as hotshot as we think we are as America. He went and did what he did, and he's keeping going it, and he's getting calls and messages to stop, and he's not even acknowledging the messages. So where I'm going with this is, I want to make sure, Hediya, I'm not a cold-hearted person. My heart definitely bleeds for all the Iranians who have been tortured and murdered for last 46 years. And Brandon can say, during Mahsa Amini, I was on with Brandon probably around the clock, not sleeping or eating, reporting on what's happening. However, I think coming from where I come from, with a grandmother who basically gave me the courage to put a backpack on my back and leave the country at age 15 and never look back, give me liberty or give me death is where our people are today. I am afraid, yes, they might get back on the streets and get crushed again. However, this is by far the widest opening they have ever seen in front of them in last 46 years. And also, unfortunately, by failure of Trump administration to acknowledge what is a better opportunity for him making history, unwritten letter by Prince Pahlavi was, you now have an opportunity to go above Abrahamic Accords and make a Cyrus Accord in Middle East. I think it just went over Trump's head. He had no idea what Prince Pahlavi is even talking about. It's like, wait, what's Accord? I don't think he understood this is biblical message, even though, as Sharon said, Pahlavi is a supposedly a self-proclaimed Muslim, but he put a biblical message in that letter, and Trump
Yeah.
just didn't even get it. With all of that being said, I still strongly believe with power of prayers and biblical orders and the growing number of men and women of faith in Iran and what Netanyahu just started, regardless of what US tries to do or not tries to do, there is still a higher percentage of freedom for the land, for the people, and for those exiles as of today than it was 2 days ago.
Shram, I hear you trying to jump in here.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I'll make the biblical argument that I made the other night, that I still believe that this has to happen at some point prophetically because of Jeremiah 49, right there.
Yes.
All right, let's
That's
explain
exactly
that.
it.
Let's get into that real quick between you and Hedia, because Hedia and her husband, I think, were teaching on this last night, weren't you, Hedia?
Yes, correct.
All right, go ahead. Why don't you kick it off, Shram, and then we'll go over to her.
Well, again, it's a very simple message about Elam. I covered this the other night when I was on with you. Elam goes all the way back to the line of Shem, back to Noah. We as Iranians, well, Persians, okay, we are descendants of Shem. We're cousins with our Jewish, siblings, the Jewish line. That's why the Persians get a little bit upset when people say, "Are you Arab?" No, we're not Arab. We're Persian. We just try to clarify that we're not of the line of Ishmael. But Elam, which is the ancient name of Persia, which is now currently the southwestern portion of modern day Iran. So all of the historical things that happen in the Bible, Cyrus's decree, King Ahasuerus or Artaxerxes, the story of Esther, the prophet Daniel, when he got the prophecy about the 70th week, that was in Elam. He's buried in Elam. So all of this is so intricately tied to Bible prophecy. And in this message in Jeremiah 49, you see on the screen, the Lord prophesies over Elam. Now, some will say, oh, maybe this was fulfilled right after the time of Nebuchadnezzar, before the fall of Jerusalem, or right during the time of Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonians. I disagree, because at the very end of this, when it says, I will break the bow of Elam, notice where it says two things that are critical. Verse 38, I will set my throne in Elam and destroy her king and officials. Okay, that's the only place that I've been able to look in the Bible, other than Jerusalem, that God says he's going to establish his throne. And then, yet I will restore the fortunes of Elam in days to come. Now, in the, Brandon, in the Hebrew, that word there for days to come, if you go and look at the root there, acharit means the last days, end times. As we get closer to the end, God's going to restore the fortunes of Elam. So he's going to break the bow, and it says they're going to be scattered. He's going to come against their princes. He's going to destroy their princes, their leadership. They're going to be scattered. You see that? I will shatter Elam before their foes. I will before those who want to kill them. I will bring disaster on them, even my fierce anger, declares the Lord. I will pursue them with the sword until I have made an end of them. But yet the end is not going to happen, because then he's going to make an end to them, but then he's going to set up his throne. Well, what does that mean if it's his throne is there? It can only mean that now that is a place that's going to rule. Now, I personally believe this will probably happen, or be, I guess, ultimately fulfilled maybe at the coming of the Lord in his millennial reign. But that's, that is out there. That is going to happen at some point. So whether America, going back to our geopolitical argument, whether America decides to jump in or not, decides to, support the people, just like every Muslim nation on the planet can plan the demise of Israel all day long. But when the word of God says that they have come back into the land and they will never be uprooted again, that's the word of God. It's not going to happen. I will stake my life on it. It will not happen. I will stake my life that I believe that he's going to restore Elam, because there is a beautiful symbiotic relationship ultimately between Elam, the Persian people, and the Jewish people, as we see throughout Scripture. I'll stop there.
Hedia, your turn.
Oh, amen. That was absolutely fantastic. So I couldn't have said it better. than what Shahram just said. And so that relationship between Elam and Israel and God's people is really important for Bible believers to understand, because we don't go by what geopolitics say. We go by what God says. And he doesn't tell us what happened in the past. He tells us what always happens. So just like our loyalty is to Israel, we have to understand that God has a heart for Elam, for this part of Iran. That's why he sets up a throne there. As Shahram said, it's the only other place other than Jerusalem that God says he will put his throne. So his presence is there. So, and I want to also tell your listeners about Acts 2:9, because it mentions Elam when the Holy Spirit of Pentecost falls. It says, Corinthians, Medes, and Elamites, we hear them telling in our own tongues the mighty works of God. So it indicates that Elamite descendants were present at Pentecost, hearing the gospel in their own language. So partial fulfillment of Jeremiah's prophecy began during Pentecost. And so that final restoration of Jeremiah's prophecy for Elam starts in the book of Acts. And as Shahram said, we'll either see it in the end times or during the millennial kingdom. So that's something as a Persian I look forward to.
So how do you think this for you two fits with Gog and Magog? Do you see Persia as part of Gog Magog, or do you not? And we've discussed with, I think, Aaron, who had to go to bed, by the way. He just is exhausted. So he texted me, he said, can I go to bed? I said, yeah, please go. So that's what happened there. Let's pray he gets some sleep tonight. But we've talked about Gog can mean in the original the head or the roof. So does Gog have to be Russia, as so many people say today? Does it have to be the one leading the coalition? Or could it be something like Turkey? So that's number one, but I guess that's number two. But number one, how would this all fit in? Because so many people are expecting Iran to be a part of that coalition that invades Israel. Who wants to take that first?
I was pondering about this because as Shahram read that they were, that the Elamites, which are southwest Iran, identify as Semites. The rest of Iran, the other parts are identified genealogy-wise as Aryans. So I'm wondering if there's a split. There's a split that occurs amongst the Iranian people where a portion of them will support this war against Israel and a portion of them won't. I thought maybe that was a possibility, but it's clear that the Persians as a people are mentioned in Ezekiel 38. So I think it remains to be seen. Maybe that's a portion of the population or not. So that was my take, that maybe it's also the genetic differences, the people differences that are contained within what was known as Persia at the time.
There it is, 38 verse 5, Persia right there for this coalition of Gog and Magog. What are your thoughts there, Shmuel?
Well, I agree with Hedieh. That's a very interesting possibility that she just brought up, that there is a distinction there because, again, specifically, there is a geographical boundary to Elam in what that boundary is. I also would say that this is talking about a nation. So these are the nations that are coming against them, not necessarily the people, because we know that just like today in Iran, there is a huge difference between the people and the regime or the nation or the government. But also,
is there any chances that Iran could split into more than one nation? Weren't they more than one nation before and then came together as one nation?
Yes, that is definitely a possibility. That's what I'm saying. It's an interesting possibility of what is being said here, that this could mean that there's going to be a split. It also, we have to remember this. Persia was conquered by Islam, correct? And so there are many, including many of the leadership of Iran, and we've said this for many years now, that are actually Arabs. They are not Semitically Elamites or Persians. So what if there is that distinction that, again, when it says Persia, it's talking about the government, the bow, even in the Elam, he's going to break the bow. That's the power. That's the might. But he's not breaking the people. He's scattering the people, and then he's going to regather the people. So there is a distinction. So I do believe that Persia will be a part of the Gog-Magog. And, of course, the debate among scholars is, what is the timing between Gog-Magog and if you support, as we are talking about today, the Jeremiah 49 prophecy yet being fully fulfilled? I love what you said with the fact that it started in Acts 2. That people forget that all the time. People forget that very likely even before Acts 2, that the Magi coming to Jesus were from the East. Many believe that at least one of the Magi was from, quote, Persia or Elam, very likely coming to give homage and worship to the King of Kings, to the King who has come. So this is woven through. The symbiotic relationship is beyond understanding in the natural. It is a spiritual connection that is there between Elam, Persia. But I do think Persia will be a part of Gog Magog. I do think, as you said, Brandon, that I don't believe that necessarily Russia has to be the head of this coalition, because Russia is mentioned once. Turkey is mentioned 4 times, 4 different ways that Turkey is mentioned. So again, I'm just telling everybody, keep your eyes on Turkey. Saudi Arabia, yes, but Turkey is becoming very quickly the Sunni powerhouse. And I think it's being, I don't know, minimized, but there could be a division here. There could be a breakup. Many things are on the table, but ultimately, I don't believe that the majority of the Persian people will support the Gog-Magog invasion, whether the government is still there or not. And let's pray for the people to rise up and do it on their own if this is the timing of the Lord.
Well, let me go to some more footage, because while we're... Yeah.
Can I just... no, I never make any comment when it comes to Bible between the three of you, for sure. But I will just say one thing. The word Persia, at that moment, the time of biblical reveal, Iraq, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkey, and Syria, as of today, are its own country. But at that point, they were Persia.
That's right.
Sharam, you could point out which side of current Iran is what you're talking about as the kingdom being built. But when we talk about Persia, we're talking about almost 9 countries.
And that's
now.
why I said, wasn't that a bunch of countries that came together? That's why I mentioned it a while ago, because
exactly.
You know, could they break apart again?
And Turkey is on that list, by the way, just soon.
I mean, they are broken apart now, but could even what is Iran today be split?
Yes. Yeah. I would say all that is on the table, but that's a great point that she is making, that we have to, in context, if we're going to, apply scripture properly, first you have to look at, for example, when Ezekiel says Magog, if you go to the table of nations and look at the time of Ezekiel's prophecy, Magog included a part of China. So that's why some people think that China may be a part of this coalition that will go against Israel, because you got to, in application, do what Annie just said, which is we got to look at what was Ezekiel seeing at the time, what was Persia at the time, and not what is Persia today. Just like when we say the land covenant of Abraham, what was the land covenant that God gave to Abraham in Genesis 15, not what is Israel today.
Right.
Israel's geography today.
Very small compared to what they're being promised.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's what is promised from the river Euphrates to the river of Egypt. That's what's promised that God sees. So that's a great point that Annie is making, is that, and also, look at all those other nations, other than Afghanistan, that has a kind of a mixture. All those other nations, with the exception, I guess, of what happens in Syria and Lebanon, which are, statistically higher Shia than Sunni, but they're all Sunni nations. And so it's hard, because at the time of Ezekiel, there was no Islam. There was no Islam. So now you throw Islam in the mix, and you throw this demonic ideology in the mix, and that can change the geography of what Persia is.
Okay, any comment by Hedia before we move to an update on Iran?
Also what I love about Annie's point is that everybody's so focused on Iran being the eternal enemy of Israel. And I think when you look at the way she put it, which is absolutely correct, the context of Persia in the Bible is way larger than modern day Iran. It fits with what we see now in the Sunni jihadi space. So between Afghanistan and Syria and all of and Iraq and parts of Lebanon being literally terrorist hotbeds. I mean, they're being actually run by terrorist groups. It'll make a lot more sense if that's what the Lord meant in terms of enemies of Israel than just the state of Iran, because we could see now, and even in its history, before the advent of the mullahs and the Islamic Revolution, Israel did not have a hostile relationship with the Jewish people. I mean, Iran did not have a hostile relationship with the Jewish people. There was always a large Jewish population in Iran. So that, to me, makes a lot more sense that it would be the Sunni jihadi spaces than just the territory of Iran.
By the way, here in America, we have, this is in Washington State, I believe. Homeland Security just deployed some kind of green gas, or green smoke, I should say, around the Department of Homeland Security office to disperse the violent crowd in Washington State. So we're seeing this in a few places right now. But I want to go back to Iran, because there are growing reports out there that the Mossad is working very aggressively inside Iran. And the bombing is just quite intense. The footage coming out, I mean, I can show so much tonight, but here's one right here, that there's just so much.
Brandon, did you comment on the IDF saying that they are now, I don't know if Annie mentioned this earlier, that they're basically saying now they have a green light between
they have border, the airspace. They own all the airspace, right?
Yep. Yeah, between the border of Iraq entering Iran and Tehran. They're saying that they have a clear space that they can hit. So I think that some of these, these missiles that are coming at Israel, if I take that to mean that they've cleared that area, are not coming from that corridor. They're coming from other parts of Iran. And remember that Bushehr, which is like Natanz that was hit, that is not a actual plant, right? That was an enrichment site. Bushehr is one of their several sites that's in that southwest corner. And then they also had, when Bandar Abbas, remember that explosion that happened in Bandar Abbas a few weeks ago? That big, that was the southern part of Iran, the port. And remember, Aaron was on, and one of the first things we talked about was, that smells like some sort of a Mossad operation rather than just accidentally there was an explosion. Well, that is one of the...
If you're going this far, then, Trump, why wouldn't they just go ahead and just take down the regime? They just keep going.
They are. Here, Israel just, Channel 14 just reported that Israel struck Iran's Ministry of Defense in Iran.
Yeah, they're going full tilt. I think Israel knows, just like with Hamas, right? We know, everybody intellectually should know, there's no negotiating with Hamas. There's no negotiating with Fatah.
So why live them to fight another day? Just finish them off.
Finish them off. That's exactly what's got to happen. That's why I'm saying earlier that, to the point that Hadia was making, that you have this State Department or National Security Council. By the way, Mike Waltz, remember Mike Waltz when he was relieved of duty, right? He was one of the ones that was in favor, Hedi, am I wrong? He was one of the ones that was in favor of regime change in Iran. Right. So that was one of the reasons that it was speculated that he was moved out, was because he's a war hawk. Well, no, we're talking about like support the Iranian people. I've never said, hey, I want American troops in Iran, or I want even the American fighter planes. I always said, let Israel do what Israel does well. And Israel, in my opinion, has the best intelligence apparatus on the planet. And let them do what they do well. But America gives support morally. Lend your voice and say we support the Iranian people rising up, as Netanyahu is doing. So I think Israel is going all out. I think this is not just about delaying their nuclear program. I think Israel recognizes this is the window, this is the opportunity. Iranian people rise up. That's why Netanyahu is giving that message. This is your time. What did he say in his message? You have I have the quote here. He said, the regime does not know what hit them or what will hit them. It has never been weaker. This is your opportunity to stand up and let your voices be heard. He's giving them the green light because they're going after the entirety of the regime. And the fact that they're fleeing, if that's accurate, means that this is the moment that they can fall.
Okay, now
can you check your email? Okay. If you check your email, I'll send you a tweet from, why am I drawing a blank? Former Prime Minister of Israel, Ben Tully?
Which one?
What was his name? Bentali? I think I'm saying it correctly, but I'm doubting my correct saying. It's on your email. It's a tweet. Anyways, former Israeli prime minister also just put out a tweet like an hour ago telling people of Iran to get on the streets too.
Oh, Naftali Bennett? You're talking about Naftali
Thank you.
Bennett?
Bennett. Yes, Naftali Bennett. I merged the last name and first name and came up with a new name for him. But anyways. Also, Israeli Channel 12 just reported that they arrested 2 of their own people who were apparently flipped and working for Islamic Republic of Iran. There you go. That's the tweet.
As the former Prime Minister of Israel, I want to tell the Iranian people one thing. Your time is now. Free yourselves from your cruel dictators. Give your children a future of life and liberty. Israel has eliminated Iran's most senior military leaders. The regime has never been weaker, never. In Judaism, we say, if not now, when? Today, I urge every proud Iranian citizen to take their future into their own hands. And know this, the people of Israel stand with you. The state of Israel stands with you. The entire free world will stand with you. Don't miss the opportunity to achieve your freedom. Do not condemn your brave and noble people to decades more tyranny and terror. Your time is now. And I want to put that with the backdrop, if I can find it, of this right here. This was out.
No.
Okay, were you about to throw up there, Annie?
That's okay. I'm not on camera. We're good. Go.
Okay. President Putin called this morning to very nicely wish me a happy birthday, but more importantly, talk about Iran, a country he knows very well. We talked at length. Much less time was spent talking about Russia, Ukraine, but that will be for next week. He's doing the planned prisoner swaps. Large numbers of prisoners are being exchanged immediately from both sides. The call lasted approximately 1 hour. He feels as I do. This war in Israel-Iran should end, to which I explained his war should also end. Well, why should the war in Israel end when Israel's winning and we can free the people of Iran? Again, I'm just really confused. Maybe the word's not confused, because I think I know what's going on after having, you're laughing, Annie, because I think we know what's going on here. Is this just—
No, I'm laughing. I don't think that post was about anything except that Putin wished him a happy birthday. That was the whole key of that.
But why would he say this war in Israel and Iran should end when Israel's winning and going to topple the regime? Or is President Trump wanting— I think Hadi already said it. He wants a peace deal. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize. And you can't get a peace deal, Nobel Peace Prize, if there's no peace to be made because the regime has been toppled by Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu has now become the make Iran great again. I mean,
I like that.
Get the hats.
I mean,
get the hats.
I mean, think about it. There is a public, nasty war happening between Tucker and Hannity and Levin. And so can you imagine what's happening in Trump's ears? I mean, it's just the infighting over Iran is vicious and it's very passionate. So,
but at this point, why would he not? I'm sorry to interrupt, but at this point, why would he not go to the camera and make a video to the Iranian people?
Yeah, maybe because he doesn't want to take a side. He hasn't decided.
But what is there to decide?
Oh, the window is closing quick.
What is there to decide? Is he going to wait? Is he going to wait until they've got the Allah Khamenei up on a pole lynching him to say, hey, by the way, if you guys win, wait a minute, you're too late.
Can I make I'm going to try to hit this and see if it goes anywhere. It could be a foul ball. But I've said this all along. Look, at the end of the day, I don't think the Saudis, I don't think the Qataris, I don't think the Arab Emirates, I don't think any of them want regime change in Iran.
Yeah.
I think that's lip service. Because at the end of the day, they are more in control because Islam— I mean, look, the end goal is the end goal, right? The sectarian, the Sunni, the Shia, the differences, I get all that, and we could argue that, but the end goal is the end goal. They believe they're supposed to rule the world, and they're going to argue about, who's going to be at the head of it, the Sunnis or the Shia, which successor of Muhammad. But I think that they don't want the regime change, and I think that this administration, again, you got Steve Witkoff. This guy is how can I say it in a nice way?
Just move your lips.
Yeah, this is a fool. This guy doesn't know one end of the Middle East from the other end of the Middle East, and he doesn't know the distinction between the Persian people and the rest of these Arabs. There's a reason why the lowest anti-Semitism in the Middle East is in Iran. There's a reason why the mosque attendance in Iran is in the single digits, because They have rejected Islam. Have the Saudis rejected Islam? Have the Qataris rejected Islam? Of course not. So I don't think that they want the regime change.
I totally agree.
And under Obama, we said, oh, it's because of Valerie Jarrett. It's because, was it her dad or her mom? I'm trying to remember which one was from Iran.
Neither one. She was just born in Iran because her father was stationed in Iran. She has no Persian blood whatsoever.
Yeah. But so, we excused it in that sense. But now under Trump, again, if he's getting rid of the likes of Mike Waltz, who are saying, Mr. President, we need to be able to have regime change. But I mean, and again, not that I'm advocating that America brings about the regime change, but in this case, that's
you let Israel do the regime change, and then you stand there and you cheer them on, which is why President Trump should have made a video already.
I don't think he doesn't want to lose his base. Most of the MAGA base.
How do you lose a base by saying you want to make Iran great again? Let the Iranian people make Iran great again. We support you, encourage you.
MAGA doesn't care about the Iranian people.
Here's the thing.
Wait a minute. What did you just say? What did you say?
MAGA is not concerned with the Iranian people. They don't care about Iran being free. They want to destroy the mullahs, but they don't care about Iran being free. So they'd rather they just shock and awe the hell out of the country and leave the people to whatever.
But doesn't that, not to attack MAGA people, but doesn't that show you a very shallow thinking of MAGA people? A lack of a real worldview of understanding? And who do we blame that on? I'll tell you who we blame that on. You blame that on inch deep, mile wide outlets like Fox News, who, when they talked about international stories the other day on the couch, put on a workout queen. What's her name? Julian something another?
Jillian Michaels.
Julian Michaels was on the couch talking international news. I was like, excuse me, if I need my biceps toned or my calves, okay, but why is she here talking international? And then they put up somebody else. I can't remember who the next person was. Oh, it was George P. Bush, the former land commissioner in Texas, sitting there, the son of Jeb Bush, talking about international policy. I'm like, well, no wonder Fox News has some of the dumbest people watching. You just brought on a workout queen and George P. Bush to talk international news. Hello, why not Hedia or Sharam or Annie? Oh, because that would go too deep. And if you go too deep, the people turn off and you don't get to sell your garbage advertising, in my opinion. That's what's going on, because they're not interested in truth and getting to the worldview issues and the philosophies and the geopolitics, and certainly not the Bible prophecy. So,
and Brandon, there's one other component in the MAGA movement that we're missing, because I do think that this rift that Hedia was talking about between the likes of Tucker and the Candace Owens, and there is a growing movement within the so-called right-wing influencers that are anti-Semitic, that are against Israel. And so that is another piece of this puzzle, of course, funneled by the inch deep, mile wide. That also describes many of our churches, right? That also describes many of our churches in America that don't understand the spiritual, prophetic implications of what's going on and what God's word says, because they've bought into replacement. They've bought into these things are not for today. We don't teach prophecy. We don't teach. So MAGA, I think, internally has a rift. Yes. The danger with a populist movement is that it lacks it lacks the principles, because populism you kind of go by the wind. What is popular today? And so the populist movement is, we don't want any wars. Well, none of us want wars, but yet we're talking about that prophecy is telling us certain things are going to happen. Here's an opportunity. We should be praying for this opportunity to succeed, because it could be the time. And here we are confused, and for all the reasons you said, but they're not addressing this growing Jew hatred, anti-Semitism that is also in the. By the way, that's why the Trump's religious faith office would not come out and issue a statement when the Christians and the Alawites in Syria were being massacred by Mr. Shara Jolani, right? That Hedia mentioned earlier. They didn't say anything.
Right.
They didn't come out and make a statement, the Faith Office, against that. So
And
they're
didn't
not
we have a
addressing
guy
it.
put on one of the boards that did 20 years in prison
Yeah,
for?
Royer.
Well, he
Yeah,
was
Ismail
sentenced to
Royer.
20 years, but he only served 13. He was let go for good behavior.
Yeah,
Ismail
yeah.
Royer's on the faith-based office?
Ismail
yes.
Royer is on the Religious Liberty Commission. They put him on the newly formed Religious Liberty Commission. And
Yes.
Ismail Royer, Yusuf Hamza, who is a jihadist promoting imam, but Ismail Royer, a convicted jihadist, supporting Lashkar. What was that group in
Lashkar Taiba.
Lashkar
I used to
Taiba.
get death threats from Ismail Royer. He threatened to chop me up into pieces.
He threatened
did?
to chop you up in pieces.
Yes. Yes. He was in the heyday when I first started my career in DC. He was in charge of CARES outreach.
Well,
Royer?
now he's in charge of faith of
Are you
this
wait a minute?
country.
Wait. The guy
he's-
that threatened to chop you up in pieces is now on a board for the White House.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
And
religious- that's what
not
she's saying.
Honestly, not surprising. I
Yeah.
tell you, our government, it doesn't matter who's in power. I
Yeah.
have been in
Exactly.
Republican administrations and Democratic administrations, and these wheels go turning round and round, same
Crazy.
thing all over again.
Well, you know what she just said. It doesn't matter who's in power, which really tells you who is really running the show, guys.
Yeah.
Who's really running the
Brian-
show?
Brandon, I do have confirmation on one of the pictures I sent you earlier on that long list of things. There's a meme with a picture of a guy on, if you want to put it up. But we do have confirmation now on a coordinated attack. Israeli military took out 2 unnamed high-ranking officials of Iran government, not the military, government, and also they took out the head of Houthis. Abdul Malik al-Houthi was taken out. So
And
they are expanding. They're going after any proxy of Iran as well as Iran, I guess.
Is this
But,
is the guy they just eliminated, right?
that is the guy from Jordan. No, the Houthi guy was the head of Houthis. There's that one. I emailed it to you. It's like a meme. There's a guy on it.
Okay.
They
But-
had taken out a guy by the name of Shamkhani. That was the Supreme Leader's top advisor.
Right hand.
Go ahead.
Oh no, he was.
Sorry,
I
what?
was saying Khamenei's right hand. This is my
Yeah,
right
yeah,
hand
he
being
was Khamenei's right
Shamkhani.
hand. Shamkhani was, so this guy was, he's like, he's right there. So if they can get to him, they can get, so the question is, here's a question. When is Khamenei going to leave the country?
I strongly believe he has already left Shahram.
Yeah,
And let me tell you
there go.
why.
Could-
He did one video yesterday, right? And then about 9 p.m. local time of Tehran,
Yeah.
he puts out a statement that is read by the news anchor on Nassim channel, which is the 4th channel of Iran's network, read by the news anchor, right? Like they couldn't even record the audio of him to play it back. And what does he say in that statement? He's going to pardon 1,700 convicted prisoners in Iran tomorrow morning.
Mm.
When was the last time Khamenei just volunteered 1,700 pardons? The last time was, Green Movement, when he felt like the uprising could go somewhere. The uprising
2009.
haven't even started, and
Yeah.
he's already offering 1,700 pardons tomorrow morning, which
Interesting.
I'm going to keep an eye on who is being pardoned. Is he going to pardon the killers and the drug dealers or the political prisoners? The Christians, maybe? But I'll keep an eye on that. But the point is, I think he's already out because anything that's coming from him, it's just somebody else is reading it, somebody else is saying it.
So they got an
I
auto
think he's
pin.
already
They got Biden's auto pin in Tehran now.
Pretty much, yes.
According to the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. military they're pardoning everybody they can before the regime falls. According to the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. military is operating in the air, on land, and at sea to shoot down Iranian ballistic missiles fired at Israel in response to the ongoing operation by the Israeli Air Force targeting nuclear ballistic missile and other military sites inside Iran. We're just going to go a few more minutes here, folks. My Red Alert app is continuing to go off. I had to finally just mute it. You guys could hear it. But Israel is still under attack tonight. I don't think Aaron is going to get much sleep. I think he will be right back up. Poor guy having to run to the bunkers. But yet on the same side of the token, I won't show it, but there are pictures circulating on social media of Iranian girls taking off their hijab and giving the middle finger to the picture of the Khomeini.
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 Well, I don't know if you've seen this one, Brannon, but I have here a report that says U.S. raises security nationwide at all military bases inside U.S. The U.S. military has officially increased security across all domestic bases, citing global developments as Israel's strike on Iran continues.
Wait a minute. They've raised the security level on all of our bases in the U.S., as you just said. Now, who said yesterday, the day before, we should do that and announce it? That was you and me, Annie. You and me said, based on what was coming on Saturday and all this, and the attack that Israel launched, we should have the president come out and raise the threat level and call Americans to be ever vigilant. And now, of course, I think he should have come out and made a video, but I know for political reasons he won't, supporting Iran. And then he could have been on the side of this, which I think will be the end of the regime. If the regime doesn't end, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not the expert, you three are, on Iran. But if the regime doesn't end, it's only because Israel backs off. If Israel keeps going for, as they're saying, up to 2 weeks, there will be no Iranian regime left, right?
Well, I'd like to clarify that, because I think if you look at what they've done to decimate Hamas, new Hamas leadership just keeps coming out of the woodwork. So they seem to have a steady supply. What worries me in Iran is that we haven't, other than Pahlavi, we've never heard the rumblings of opposition. So I think they could just keep recruiting from the pool of Islamists that they have and call this person a new Ayatollah, slap a turban on his head and say this is the new ruler. So I wonder how strong internally the opposition is to even make a difference or to crack through what we're calling the Islamic Republic. Because right now we're looking at it like just 10 or 12 guys, but they have a free-flowing pool of people they could pull from, just like Hamas.
Well, yeah, but Hadijan, here's the biggest difference. Here's the difference. With Hamas, they can put anyone, Khamenei can sign up on anyone to be Hamas leader, so that he can do the same with Hezbollah. If Khamenei is taken out, he's the supreme leader. There's an actual 7 list of requirement for his replacement. Right. The only person standing by was Raisi, who died in a helicopter crash 2 years ago. There is no standing by supreme leader. That's the beauty of it. That's why I'm like, dear Bibi, hit him.
The Republic, exactly.
And that's why I said there will be an internal fight, because there might have to shift the Shia format into saying now IRGC will lead the country. Because if they continue this Shia system, there is no supreme leader to take place. So they're going to have to actually change the entire system.
Well, here's the proposal, though. Tell me what you guys think. So thanks to our meddling in Egypt, right, when we decided to not back Hosni Mubarak and we supported the Muslim Brotherhood and what was it, $8-9 billion that Hillary and Obama gave to them and all the thing. Okay, so what happened there? What happened there was El-Sisi, so you had to have a military, what do they call it? How do you know better?
Intervention? It was
it's a military intervention, right? So you have the military intervene, you have the military take over, and then you would have to have it become civilian. But Annie's point is well said. The Guardian Council, guys, we have to remember that every election in Iran is rigged, right? Because it's only who the Guardian Council approves, the 12 Guardian Council, with Khamenei being one of them, that can be that runs for office, that can be approved, and also then they decide the outcome of the elections as well. That's why 46 years the Iranian people know that every election is rigged when we talk about rigged elections. But so I do think that this would be the end of the Islamic Republic because of what Annie just said. But now, what if the military can take over? If Reza Pahlavi is correct, and these guys, and if there is this defection from the military, from the armed forces, because they took out Bagheri. Remember the other night they were denying that they killed Bagheri, and now they're saying, yes, they killed him too. So it's like everybody at the top has been killed or is about to be killed. And So what if that's what we need? Is initially a military intervention, not a coup, but just a military intervention, take control, and then be able to actually hold elections. Then you would allow for a civil political process to go forward. But initially, you have to have a military intervention under some guidelines. And Brandon, to your question earlier, I think it's twofold. Yes, I agree, Israel's got to continue. If Israel backs off, then this chance is gone. But I also think that America has to not meddle. In 2009, the Green Movement was killed because of Obama. So if America doesn't meddle and Israel continues, this has got a fighting chance. If America meddles, and then once again, they left the Iranian people out to dry.
Yes.
What is that expression?
All right. Now we're getting news that Iran's last ballistic missile wave killed 4 Israeli citizens, all of whom were Muslim Arabs. And yet Muslims on X are celebrating Iran firing missiles at Israel like it's the best days of their lives.
Yes, and by the way, to what you just said, Shamjan, as of right now, based on reports, 51 killed, 39 injured war officials of the government in Iran. Out of 229 killed, 51 of them were commanders, generals, things like that. But what is, I guess, I've been smiling all day. And part of it is, I know it's evil to do this, but this morning they killed the replacement of the Air Force that was replaced by the dead one yesterday. They killed the replacement this morning. Wow. So that's why I'm on a very positive energy of the Islamic Republic is done. Now, as Sharon said, as Hadi said, what is next definitely depends on Israel to continue. And from what I'm seeing, Brannon, I don't think they have plans to stop anytime soon.
Well, I would pray not, because if they do, they're just going to give them the chance to rebuild, and they'll be back here again in a few years.
Oh, with what they've done and with the shakeup in the top of government, they need at least another 25 years to retaliate on what just happened. They took out pretty much. It's 18 provinces have no IRGC headquarters right now. 18 provinces are running without.
One Israeli security official saying Israel has destroyed several sites in Tehran related to the Iranian nuclear program, including experimental laboratories. And there you go.
Yes, I do have confirmation here that the Tehran Organization of Defensive Innovation and Research was taken out. What they call it SPND in Farsi, abbreviations.
And Iran's defense minister eliminated, says Dr. Eli David. There you go.
At the beginning, if you remember, I said they just hit the ministry, the defense minister.
I love these.
That's the thing.
What's that, Hadia?
I love these graphics with these big red eliminated signs on them. It's like the same.
By the way, that was the guy, Brandon.
If you look at the Farsi side of things, they have the banner, but instead of saying eliminated, they're writing kotlet shud.
That makes me sad, because I like kotlet. But Brandon, that's a food. That's a food.
It
that's
means
like
it turned into a meat patty.
A meat patty.
And it was
like a meat patty.
It originally started with Qasem Soleimani when the pictures were released of just his finger and a ring left. People of Iran basically said he has turned into a meat patty. And then from there, every time there is an official of IRGC or Quds forces, they just put a stamp and say, turned into meat patty.
And yet in LA tonight, we have reports that folks are trying to penetrate the federal building, one of the federal buildings in Los Angeles right now.
That's down the street
Which
from my
building?
mother's house. Yeah, that's the one in Westwood.
That's near you, Hadia?
Yeah, it's near my mother's home. It's the most popular one. It's actually the one that the Iranians use too. So I wonder if the Iranians are out there too. If that's the federal building in LA.
I'm sure the liberal ones would be, right? The liberal Iranians who it's kind of like the liberal Jews.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we have too many of those liberal Iranians in LA area. Way too many of them.
Way too many. Too many. Most of my family are like that. But Yeah, Brandon, the defense, the picture you showed
Yes.
of the head of the defense was the one that just a few days ago was bragging that they had the capability on their ballistic missiles of I think it was like a 2-ton or whatever. I can't remember the measure of it was, but they were bragging that they had these new missiles that they had been able to deploy and test. And now he's no longer with us. And just can I say this? Just as a pastor, we don't rejoice in the death, in the sense of the death, because these are evil people, and 99.9% they are destined for hell. They have no hope of salvation. Unfortunately, that is the greatest lie in Islam, right? That if you martyr yourself somehow, and remember yesterday, Annie, Khomeini called them all martyrs. That was part of his message, that he said, these are all the martyrs. Well, the sad thing is in Islam, folks, that the martyrs who are supposedly guaranteed the 7 blessings, including to intercede for 70 of your relatives, we know the truth is that is, the lie of Satan, that they're in hell. So I don't want to seem like that we're celebrating the demise or the death of people that are going to be destined for hell forever, but it's rejoicing in a triumph of hope that there can be an open door of freedom for the people of Iran that have been crying out. This is like, again, we don't compare it to the Israelites that cried out for 435 years, but 46 years they've been saying, we're done, we're done. And now this could be the best opportunity. But I'm watching the White House, and I think the silence is deafening. It's very telling, unfortunately, of where it stands on this issue.
Well, again, and I want to wrap so you guys can go on with your evening. But if you guys are all agreeing that Saudi Arabia and all these other Islamic nations and Arab nations don't want to free Iran, and he just came back with $1 trillion in his pocket.
Yeah.
He doesn't probably have that money in his pocket yet. They're deals. Can't those deals collapse if he doesn't?
Yeah. Sure, absolutely.
So I guess what I'm asking is, and I don't like saying it, is money driving his foreign policy?
Absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt, because of again, if it wasn't, you wouldn't put Steve Witkoff in that position. You wouldn't put the people, Chadhuri, who is, connected to CARE, on whatever, Annie would remember the advisory council he was on. He's on the National Security Advisory Council, with the people that are on the Religious Liberty Commission. You wouldn't make these decisions, Brandon, if there wasn't about money, if it wasn't about make the deal, and it's all about the economy. And I get it. We all care about our pocketbooks. We all care about, being able to, feed our family. But for us as believers, at the end of the day, you have to do the right thing long term and what it means, and do it according to the Word of God. But I think absolutely. I think we said the other night, his counsel is bad. He does not have the right counsel, and I think the entanglements are at the minimum a problem, and at greater measure. And by the way, this isn't, Brandon, you and I have talked about this. This isn't only going to hurt Israel or Iran. This is going to hurt America, because that's what they've imported to America. The jihadist mentality. We will find out in about a week. I'm sure memory will come out with lots of sermons from yesterday, from Friday prayers, when they translate these sermons. Many of them are in English. And once they come out with these messages, we'll see what was being said in the mosques of America. We've imported this jihad into America because of money, and I think it's absolutely an influence, in my opinion.
Closing comment, Hedia?
Yeah, I think I'm glad you brought that up, Sharon, because I think it's important also for Americans to stay vigilant. That's one thing we didn't talk about. There is a heightened threat in the United States. Our officials haven't really talked about that, except briefly in the opening comment. You made something, you said something about it, but we need to have situational awareness. Be aware of your surroundings. If you see something, say something, do something that's suspicious, that you report it to local officials, because we don't know, out of the millions of people, how many of those were Iran-backed jihadis, sleeper cells, how many sleeper cells they already have in the United States. We've known about the Hezbollah networks and the cigarette scandals and things that they were involved in for decades. So I think it's really important that we stay aware of the potential for suicide attacks and terrorist attacks here in the United States as a result of our support for Israel.
And your website is resurrectministry.com. Perfect timing on Logan's part. Look at that. Popped up right as I was about to say it, like he was reading my mind. Resurrectministry.com, resurrectministry.com. By the way, she will be our keynote speaker at our banquet, our foundation banquet outside of Memphis in Collierville, where we're based, on Thursday evening, October 2nd. Seating is limited, okay? And you can get your tickets at Worldview Store. She'll also be speaking as well for the main conference that starts on Friday night. That will include, off the top of my head, Hadia. It'll include Sidney Powell, Alex Newman, Gordon Chang, Mark Mitchell, Chris Martenson. There's a huge list of them. We only have 350 seats for that conference, folks. So go ahead and register for that if you want. Our 22nd annual conference, national conference for Worldview Weekend, worldviewstore.com. But her website is resurrectministry.com. Shahram's is tillministry.com, tilministry.com. His broadcast airs here on Worldview Tube. What days, what time, Shahram?
Saturdays and Sundays. I think it's 10 and 5 on Saturdays Central Time, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it's 2 p.m. on Sundays that we air on Worldview Tube.
Perfect. And Annie is liveuptofreedom.com and liveuptofreedom.substack.com. She airs each and every day now, started as of last week again, 3 p.m. Central, 4 Eastern, Monday through Friday. Correct, Annie?
Yes.
Okay. One last picture. This is out of Seattle tonight. Again, folks are going at it. That I think is an ICE facility there. They're obviously using some kind of rubber bullets or paintball or whatever it is they're using there. But yeah, I mean, it's not dark yet. It's only 4:25 in California and the West Coast. I don't know what this evening will bring, but if we see a lot of disruption that requires us coming back to report, we'll get back on the air here, bring in Leo Holman and other people to report on what's going on. But hopefully we will not have to report back tonight. But it's not even dark yet. And it's already getting it's getting like this. So this will be interesting to see what this becomes with this No Kings rally all across the country. I want to thank all three of you for interrupting your Saturday afternoon and evening to be with us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brennan.
Fascinating conversation. I don't think you'll find this on just about any other network, folks, where we not only discuss national policy, international policy, geopolitics, and then bring in the Bible and Bible prophecy. And that's why so many of you like us. We get so many notes and letters of you saying, we love your network. One way and one reason why is because you always find a way to bring in the Bible when it's appropriate and applicable. And indeed, that is the case. We do need your support, worldviewfoundation.com. We're a listener-supported network. We could put it all behind a paywall, but our live stream is out there 24/7 for you to watch free of charge. Do you guys know that we're also about to add a history channel? We already have our health channel. We have our health channel below our main player, but we're about to add a history channel. Yesterday, I finished writing the script for the documentary on the home of Robert E. Lee, Arlington House, that belonged to his mother-in-law and father-in-law. Actually belonged to his father-in-law, who was the grandson of Martha Washington. And so we have a whole documentary on Robert E. Lee. I finished writing the script just the other day. We'll get to putting that out. Much more to come from all of our footage we have from Washington, D.C. We were there just a few weeks ago. More to come. We will be making another trip back to the nation's capital in Northern Virginia area for lots more this fall filming as we build our history channel that we hope to have launched by Monday. So that'll be free. And then we have a Bible prophecy channel that we're also launching. We have plenty of keynote presentations and Bible teaching on Bible prophecy from so many people. Some of those teachers they're not alive anymore, at least on earth. They're very much alive in glory, but not with us here. But their teaching does not fade away because it's based on the Bible. And so we have so many hours of Bible prophecy teaching. And so we're starting a Bible prophecy channel. All these channels free of charge, brought to you in part by our major sponsor, really, our foundation that helps us push out free Christian worldview programming all over the world. And our numbers have just been, higher than we've ever seen them. Our numbers have been higher than we have ever seen them the last week. Because again, I think we're covering news and international news and domestic news like no one else, with panels and discussions that you're not going to find anywhere else. And you just got 2 hours of it. So please, will you go now and make a contribution? Worldviewfoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. Now, we do have our Sunday night church service. Tomorrow night is Father's Day, so I won't be here. I'll be spending time with my family. I hope you will as well. But if you want with your family to watch our Sunday night church service, we're going to run last Sunday night's teaching on Revelation chapter 17. We received such incredible feedback on that. So we'll run that again. And then, Lord willing, the next Sunday night, I'll be right back here with you as I continue teaching through the book of Revelation, lesson 41, as I pick it up in Revelation chapter 17. So if you appreciate all we're doing, we appreciate your support, worldviewfoundation.com. Another way you can support us is by going to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. That's another way you can support what we're doing here. Check out all the great sponsors we have here, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Well, it's 6:29 Central, 7:29 Eastern Standard. That will conclude for now our live coverage of what's been going on in America and around the world. We're going to transition now to the already under schedule 250th anniversary parade of the U.S. Army right outside the White House, hosted by President Donald Trump. So we'll carry that for you. And if there is a need to come back after the parade is over for breaking news related to what's happening around the country, we'll break back in and come to the news desk live. And let's pray we don't have to do that. All right. But till then, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the parade, what's left of it. And we'll replay all of it in its entirety as well tonight. The next time I'm Brandon House. May God save America. Take care.